Hey guys, today we're going to be jumping into a top 10 units list in Dragon Ball Legends. This is going to be the December 2024 Part 1 edition. We're definitely going to have a Part 2 once the Ultra drops, which still not entirely sure when that's happening. It could be anywhere between the 21st and the 28th. That 7-day span when the Ultra drops, we'll definitely be doing a follow-up tier list to this, so I'm going to label this as Part 1 because the Ultra will surely change some things with the game. So as usual, just want to mention three things before we jump into the list. Number one, every character is considered to be at their best situation, best teams, 14 stars, best equipment, max title boosts, max arts boosts, everything like that. Number two, these rankings are based on the top 10 placements in the current meta environment. They're not simply which character is better than the other characters. A character at number 7 on this list doesn't necessarily mean they're better than the character at number 10 and vice versa. Number 3, this list is consisting of rankings that are entirely of my own opinion that I've formulated based on my experience playing the game. This list is based off of rating match standard mode, not rating match proud. So, you know, for people who are looking for proud rankings, I just don't play the mode enough to really give a concrete listing for that. So this is based around the standard rating match. So those are just always what I like to list here before we go and jump into the video. Of course, you guys might have differing opinions than me, and that is welcome. So as we go through this video, if you guys have any disagreements with any of the listings, make sure to let me know down below what you disagree with and why. So we'll go ahead and start off with number 10, and we'll work our way up to number 1. All right, so number 10 on the list, I'm actually going to have two characters here for number 10. This is not going to be like a 9/10 thing. It's just going to be these two guys here at number 10. We'll start with Tamagami number 3, because this is the new character that dropped alongside Daimagoku, and obviously I've not talked about him in any prior list because this is the first time he's made an appearance in one of these videos. I think he's definitely a very good 1% sparking. He's definitely not like Evil Boo level when Evil Boo first dropped, but he is doing his job at establishing a foundation for the Daima/weapon wielder tag. One big, I guess, disadvantage that this character has just immediately being implemented into the game on these new tags is he's not got a single Zenkai buffer. And when we take a look at every character on this list, they all have, for the most part, multiple different Zenkai buff options across multiple different teams. And I think with this character being a defense character, right, as a defense type, his main objective and role is to provide defensive utility for your teams. Him not having access to a Zenkai buffer does hurt him in the long run. I think that's one of the reasons why I wouldn't have this guy strictly over Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta on my list. He does work extremely well with Daimagoku. Obviously, purple plus red is that's classic, just color type coverage there for those two colors. And I think his kit actually does synergize pretty well with Daimagoku, namely the subcount manipulation. You can go into Daimagoku, eat the rush, and then obviously Daimagoku doesn't die to rushes. So this guy also provides support. He is healing a lot, getting his vanish back through the use of drawing full hands back with his blue and green cards. I think one interesting thing about this character as well is he does actually have forced switching with his blue card, which is not something we see almost ever. There are only a very few amount of characters that have forced switching on the blue, and I think it could be pretty valuable right now. It could help set up a lock-in with Daimagoku's blue card if you, let's say, force the opponent to switch out of someone like Turles with this Tamagami number 3's blue card, and then maybe you force him into Majin Vegeta and you can set up a snipe with Daimagoku, or you could even set up just a endurance nullifying Rising Rush with his green into Rising Rush. So yeah, this guy I think actually does bring a lot of value to the table. He obviously has really good disrupt when he switches in. Another good thing about him is that he does sometimes help deter the opponents from transforming. We now have quite a few transforming characters into the game this year. Namely, the two that are popular right now are Vegito Blue and Super Saiyan 3 Goku. Both are green. So this guy really does a good job of helping lock those characters down. And sometimes Vegito players like to dump their hands when they get their gauge built up and then transform just to refill it. That's usually how they operate with Vegito. Sometimes if you time things correctly when switching into Tamagami number 3, you actually could just completely shut down their ability to do that. So pretty good character, I think. He's looking pretty good as a 1% sparking character. I just am going to wait and see how good he looks once we're able to get a Zenkai buff on this character, but I think he's deserving of at least being mentioned for number 10 on this list here as it stands right now. Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta, I think this is definitely going to be one of the spots that most people watching this video are going to disagree with. I think it's just probably going to come down to meta. I play in Japan. I see this guy, I would say 50% of the time. He's very, very common to run into. Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta is one of the most common characters to run into. He does his job still in a lot of cases. He's able to pose a pretty big threat to Super Saiyan 3 Goku, and I would run into him fairly often. I haven't done my God rank grind by the time I'm recording this, just because I don't want to wait another week before that. So I'll have to wait and see how prevalent Super Saiyan 3 Goku is when I'm actually doing my God rank grind. But Super Saiyan 3 Goku is a very powerful character. The main difference between Super Saiyan 3 Goku and Vegito Blue is that Vegito Blue does have the unique gauge bypass mechanic, where he bypasses this guy's auto counters, which Super Saiyan 3 does not do. So that is one difference there. This character's ability to shut him down. He's like one of the only characters in the game, besides also maybe Majin Vegeta on occasion, that can shut down Super Saiyan 3 Goku. I would even say this character is more effective than Majin Vegeta is, just because with Super Saiyan 3 Goku, you can simply rush him in a lot of instances. But I think Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta still has a lot of value. I think, again, this is one of the bigger differences, at least from what I've seen. I don't play in the North American meta, I don't play in the European meta, but in the Japan meta, this guy is still very common. And from what I've experienced fighting against him, he's pretty effective in a lot of cases still. Obviously, he can get sniped by Majin Vegeta. Obviously, Vegito Blue can do a number on this character as well, but this guy with the AoE green card, the healing, the type neutrality, the vanish back on blue card, the ultimate that destroys Dragon Balls, lowers ki, lowers health restoration. This guy's a lot of tools still. And I think when you compare at least this character to Tamagami number 3, this character is certainly bringing a lot more mechanics to the table as an Ultra character. But it's tough. It's tough. I think with a Zenkai buff, if you're considering that, Tamagami number 3 theoretically would be ahead of this character, but I got to compare them how it is right now. Again, this is not a one-to-one list where I'm comparing, which character is better in theory. Like, no, it's just how are these characters performing in the current meta environment. I will just tell you right now, I see Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta like 3-4 times more than Tamagami number 3, even though I think they're pretty close. But Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta, I think, is still a pretty effective character, and I see him pretty often, and he does his job when he needs to, at least in my experience. So number 10 on the list is going to be these two shared together. Let's move on to number 9. Okay, number 9 is going to be LF Omega Shenron. I don't really think much has changed for this character since the last list came out. I don't think like Daima Goku or Super Saiyan 3 Goku, their release really changed this character's dynamic in the meta. He's just still a very consistent character. Double card draw speed, cover null. He's got the immunity to AoE greens once. He's got the indestructible. He's got the Dragon Ball easy acquisition at the start of the fight. Just overall a pretty good character. He's got decent disrupt. So I don't really think there's really much I need to talk about with this character. His teams are definitely not in the greatest spot right now. I would say that Powerful Opponent is not great. And I would also say that GT actually is also not great, which is, the year of GT. Here we are in December, and it's not in a great spot right now. Regen, I wouldn't say is in a great spot, and I think that's it. Am I missing anything? GT, Regen, Powerful Opponent. That's it. Yeah. So I guess Fusion Warrior, but you're not running this guy on Fusion Warrior because you're leader slotting another non-Fusion Warrior. Like, you're running Vegito Blue, Gotenks, and Majin Vegeta is the Fusion Warrior team. You're not running this guy on Fusion. I mean, you could probably do it anyway. I mean, again, the beauty of this character is he's very consistent in almost everything he's doing. You could definitely run him on Fusion Warriors. I'm not saying you can't, but that is not the optimal build for it. But I'd say, again, just a solid character. He's hanging on there to his value that we've seen since he first came out in July. It's 5 months later, and I would say he's still a decent option here. So nothing really much else that needs to be said about Omega Shenron. He's just in a similar spot to how he was last list. So number 9 is LF Omega Shenron. Let's move on to number 8. All right, number 8 is going to be LF Tree of Might Goku. I think this character did end up falling a few spots on the list when compared to the last list I released. I think that's probably going to be agreeable by most people watching this. I mean, he just does not fare well against Daima Goku. He can get sniped very easily by Super Saiyan Daima Goku. I don't know if he necessarily has a super favorable matchup against Super Saiyan 3 Goku either. Both characters have card destruction immunity, which is one of the things this character does very, very well, is he destroys cards when his gauge is filled when he's on the battlefield. And when you have characters like Red Daima Goku, who has the snipe lock-in and anti-card destruction, and then Super Saiyan 3 Goku, who's just pressing cards and comboing you forever and not allowing his cards to be destroyed, it's kind of hard to leverage one of this guy's most powerful assets, which is just the Gauge Disrupt. It's not nearly as effective against those new characters, so I feel like he does fall a few slots. Other than that, though, I feel like he's still a pretty effective character against most other characters. Against Majin Vegeta, he can still be effective in neutralizing his gauge mechanics. He is pretty effective just as a combo, I guess, tool almost, just to be able to switch into him, get double card draw speed, get cover null pretty easily, assuming the opponent's above 50% HP. A lot of times we're looking at characters these days that have Disrupt tied to their HP falling below 50%. A lot of characters have that now. So that means it is much easier to get this character's extra card draw speed and cover null active for attacking a character that is over 50% health. This is probably the single best character in the game to be used against Tamagami number 3. It becomes a lot tougher for him to really do what he wants to do versus this guy. Again, I don't really encounter Tamagami number 3 that often, at least in my experience so far. But this guy, theoretically, if Tamagami number 3, let's say, gets like a Zenkai buffer and he becomes a lot more common to encounter, this guy will be a nice option against him. But I think this guy plus Turles is still a really good setup for teams. Just again, I like to call it like the McDonald's Happy Meal team. It's just, you always run them together. You never see them apart almost. But yeah, I feel like he's a pretty good unit. He can pair up, I think, okay with the Super Saiyan 3 Goku. I don't know if I really run him with Daima Goku because I think there's better setups for him. But I do think this guy is just overall still a pretty solid unit. Easy ways to get Vanish back. He's healing a lot. He's hard to really like get the killing blow on besides Daima Goku. And even Daima Goku sometimes might even fail to get the kill on this character because he does have type neutrality when he enters the battlefield. So I think this guy is holding on pretty well considering he is now what, like 3.5 months old, something like that. So LF Tree of Might Goku I'm going to have here at number 8. Let's move on to number 7. All right, so number 7 is going to be LF Ultimate Gohan. I think this guy definitely has gained some value since the release of the 2 Gokus in Part 2. This guy obviously is a favorable matchup against Super Saiyan 3 Goku for obvious reasons. And then I think this guy actually does have, more so than many other characters, has a favorable matchup against Daima Goku. Daima Goku is not going to be able to snipe this character in a lot of cases. Daima Goku needs to use the green card to get endurance nullification. So typically the way it works is he uses the green card, he fills up the gauge, he grabs a blue, and then you end up sniping through someone's endurance with your blue card. But obviously this Gohan removes buff effects when the enemy uses a blue, so that's going to be neutralized with this character on the battlefield. Super Saiyan 3 Goku, of course, has the just, I guess, I would almost say just base endurance nullification effects active. It's going to be tough for him to really just punch through this character at type disadvantage. Now, Ultimate Gohan doesn't have like these monster defenses or anything that like Turles has or something like that, but I think when you're talking about full 14-star characters, even playing field, best equips, best teams, it's tough. Like type disadvantage is pretty potent. You're able to feel the effects of type disadvantage, right? So I think this guy just faces off pretty well against both the new characters, and I think he could pair up well with some of them. Daima Goku probably less so because he really is like almost a one-dimensional offensive character with super heavy strike based. But Super Saiyan 3, I feel like you can kind of go mixed with him, blast and strike. So this guy getting helped by some of the Sun family buffs. I think he pairs well with Gotenks still. I think he could just be thrown on a Majin Buu team. He can be thrown on a Sun family team, and he can just be a very solid character. This guy has a very interesting, actually, interaction with Daima Goku. So Daima Goku is going to be drawing infinite blue cards every time he uses a green card, and this Gohan draws infinite green cards every time he uses blue cards. So you can theoretically infinitely cycle your hand. So you just draw 500 blue cards with Ultimate Gohan, and then you just turn them all into greens. Or sorry, no, other way around. You fill your hand with green cards with Daima Goku, you turn them all into blues, and then Ultimate Gohan turns those blues into greens, and then you just go back and forth like that. It's obviously not like a super competitive strategy, but it is pretty fun. It's pretty fun to mention that. But I think this character's just aging pretty well. He's got the buff removal, he's got the support to the team, he's got the uncancelable endurance. He's able to not get sniped out by these characters that are nullifying endurance in easy manners like Daima Goku, like Super Saiyan 3 Goku. Daima Goku, of course, can simply just use a green card and not use a blue card to kill this character, but at that point you wouldn't be locked in, so you can simply switch out of this guy. The main ability, Vanish Removal Ultimate thing, is still really strong, especially against, again, Vegito Blue, Super Saiyan 3 Goku, so I really do think this guy is still looking pretty strong right now. And I don't know. We'll see. Are we really going to get a Sun? I think the chances are pretty high we get a Sun Family Ultra in Part 3. That could help this guy even more if Sun Family does become like one of the best teams in the game. So LF Ultimate go on number 7. Let's move on to number 6. All right, so coming in at number 6, we're going to have Transforming LF Super Saiyan 3 Goku. This is one of the 2 new LF characters released in Part 2 of Legends Fest this year. This is certainly far and away the hardest character I had to evaluate and place in this list. And the reason is because this character, to me, is essentially just a worse Vegito Blue. And when you end up having a character that is essentially just a worse version of another character that is meta, the merit to running this character really just isn't there, right? Take a look at like every team that Vegito Blue is on. Take a look at every team this character is on. The only team you're really running this guy on that you're not running Vegito Blue on is Buu Saga, I guess. I mean, and the argument there, even like, I mean, Sun Family, I guess you're running this character on as well. But in every one of those scenarios too, you could just make the argument that I'd rather just run leader slot Vegito Blue over this character. Like Vegito Blue is just, he's just way too important to run right now. If you want to be competitive at all, I just think Vegito Blue is way too competitive to not run. He's way too important to not run. This guy, don't get me wrong, I mean, he's number 6 on this list for a reason. He's very, very powerful. I just really, I fail to see an instance where you're like, okay, I got to choose between Vegito Blue and this character. I'm choosing this guy over Vegito Blue. It's not really going to happen ever. Again, this is a list that is considering best possible teams and situations for every unit. I don't know. And then I guess the argument would be, oh, well, you just run both of them together. At that point, I would probably not want to do that. It's just, I think it's running 2 characters like that without having like super defensive abilities, because that's certainly one issue with this character, is his defensive mechanics are certainly not great. He has one of the most unimpressive defensive mechanic lists, or list of mechanics defensively that we've seen in a while. He kind of reminds me of like, you know what this guy is? He's almost like what LF Broly should have been. This guy, to me, definitely feels a lot more powerful offensively than Broly even did on release. Even though they both have, like, you know, pretty poor defenses. Like, what is this guy doing defensively? Like, almost nothing. So, I don't know. I feel like if I'm running Vegito, I'm probably picking better, like, I don't know. I will say better characters to run. Like, I'd run him with Majin Vegeta, I'd run him with Super Saiyan 3 Gotenks, Daima Goku. I think there's better units to run on a team with him that are going to help fulfill the other roles that the team needs. Because, like, honestly, if you think about it, Vegito Blue by himself a lot of times has the offensive side of the team covered for you, as opposed to this guy. This guy is, he has very good offenses, but when you run into characters like Majin Vegeta, like Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta, who I will reiterate once again, for me is very common to run into. Those characters put a stop to your combos a lot of times. And another thing I'll mention as well is a lot of value you're getting out of this character's endurance nullification when he's transformed. Very powerful ability for sure, but Daima Goku is a very common character to run into, at least for me in Japan here. Daima Goku has one of the most powerful defensive abilities in the entire game, which is to remove buff effects, even from being on standby when the opponent Rising Rushes. So a lot of times you'll get your value out of this Goku's endurance nullification through using a Rising Rush when you're facing off against like Majin Vegeta or something like that. But if your opponent is running Daima Goku's endurance nullification, or I guess it would be buff removal. Daima Goku's buff removal effects will activate even from him being on standby, which means that even with this Goku having endurance nullification activated, his Rising Rush will not end up killing someone like Majin Vegeta, because that endurance nullification will be removed by Daima Goku's buff removal effect. So, in a lot of cases, that isn't as strong as we would want it to be. I think what they should have just done with this character is I think they should have just given him endurance nullification baseline. It shouldn't have been, or what they could have done is they could have just made it non-cancelable. Right, so when he transformed to Super Saiyan 3, he gets non-cancelable endurance nullification for 10 or 15 counts, or when he's transformed to Super Saiyan 3, they could have just made it uncancelable endurance nullification, like how the androids or LF Full Power Frieza have it. That would have made this character, I think, for me, a lot more of an argument, at least, between him and Vegito Blue. But Vegito Blue, I mean, his Vegito Blue's gauge is just, you almost need to run him. Like, you really do. So it becomes hard when you have essentially the same, like, this is Vegito Blue Jr. essentially is what this character is. And instead of running two of the same Vegito Blue character with one being slightly worse, I'm just going to choose other characters that fulfill different roles on the same team, right? Because you don't want to put all, like, if you had 3 Vegito Blues on your team that were all like slightly worse versions of, I don't know, it's tough to really explain. I'm not saying this character is bad. In fact, he's very good, but I wish they would have gone down a different path with his design. I don't think designing this guy to be like 85% the same as Vegito Blue is a very effective strategy. Again, there's really only a very few mechanics that are different between this character and VB. I would say VB has definitely the superior base form as opposed to this character. VB has the superior defensive mechanics. I don't know. I don't know. I don't really see where you're getting like tons of value of this character over Vegito Blue. You can certainly get tons of value from this character in a vacuum because he's very good, but I'm just running Vegito Blue every time over this character. So still a very good unit, and him being at number 6 I think is worthy for this character for sure. So let's move on to the top 5 now. All right, this is going to be a pretty quick explanation here. Ultra Turles at number 5. I don't really feel like this guy's net change in value really is that significant. A new green character comes out, very strong green character in Super Saiyan 2 to Super Saiyan 3 Goku. Obviously, that's not good for Turles, but then Turles, I think, is one of the best possible characters to use against Daimagoku, who me personally, again, this is based on my experience, I see Daimagoku probably twice as often as I see Super Saiyan 3 Goku, and so this Turles, I think, is probably even maybe more so than lost value, has gained a little bit of value from the last list, but the net effect is not really anything to really talk about. So I'm going to have him at number 5. Still, I would say the best defensive character in the game. His comeback mechanic is still super, super annoying to play around. You can't really play around it. It's just, you proc the comeback and you sort of go with the flow from there. So really good character still. I don't really, with all these greens running around, he's still here. He's going to age well, I think. So Ultra Turles number 5. Let's move on to the next spot. Okay, so spots number 3 and 4 are going to be shared between Daimagoku, Super Saiyan Goku Mini, and Super Saiyan 3 Gotenks. I had trouble really picking who I thought was better. If you really like held me to gunpoint and were like, pick a character or I'm going to shoot you, I'd probably pick Daimagoku. It's very close. I think there's different pros and cons to both characters. I'll go through some pros and cons to each, but at the end of the day, there's really no like correct answer here for me. I don't think it's very close. So for Daimagoku, I mean, this character has one of the most explosive offenses we've seen in recent days. I think he's very comparable to Majin Vegeta in that regard. Majin Vegeta probably has the more explosive, just like burst lock-in potential, but this Goku's strike cards and just like basic attacks are certainly doing more damage than Majin Vegeta, at least in my experience. But this guy really has the potential to finish matches in like the first 10 counts. Like, you just get a lucky green, and then you get a second green off of filling the gauge up, and then you just kill somebody with the blue. It can happen. It's happening many times. I've done it many times. This character has one of the... This is probably the most important thing I want to even say about this character. He's one of the best defensive mechanics in the entire game. Talked about it earlier. I don't remember who it was for. I think it was for Ultimate Gohan. Was it? I don't remember. But this guy does have the ability to remove buff effects from standby when the opponent uses a Rising Rush, which actually does hurt Gotenks a little bit, because one of Gotenks' most valuable things that he can do is gain Endurance Nullification from his main ability, and then hit the Rising Rush to penetrate through Endurance on characters like Majin Vegeta. So, with Daimagoku at least on the team, not even necessarily on the battlefield, he can remove that Endurance Nullification. So, I assume we're going to be getting more characters moving forward that have Endurance Nullification tied to Rising Rushes, whether it's the same mechanic that, like, Ultra Vegito Blue has or whatever they're going to do. This guy removing those buff effects on Rising Rush is very strong because you don't even have to switch into him. Really, really insane. Him getting 2 Dragon Balls in his main ability, especially when you compare that, or I guess pair that up with the fact that he does get Endurance Null on green card. I mean, you can catch somebody completely off guard. You can potentially Rising Rush somebody with Endurance Nullification in this character in like the first 15 counts. Like, I've done it. This guy has the ability. It's like 2 Dragon Balls on main ability is actually pretty crazy. I've actually found myself doing this exact thing And I actually did mention this in the breakdown when we first saw what his main ability did. I think I more often use his main ability just to get the Dragon Balls from it than to actually use the ultimate. The ultimate is a projectile, which is not the worst thing ever because you're mostly going to be using it mid-combo anyway, but this guy having the ability to gain 2 Dragon Balls from the main ability, to me, I find a lot of times that is the more valuable point of the main ability, even more so than the ultimate itself. That's really, really strong. And then just in terms of some cons for this character, he definitely doesn't have the greatest defenses. He can get hit very, very hard. He does have one of the worst double card draw speed conditions we've seen on modern LF characters. The enemy has to use an ultimate for him to get double card draw speed, which is really bad. It's just not consistent whatsoever. You have no control over when your opponent is using their ultimate. So it's very tough to get consistency with this character having double card draw speed. To be fair, that's not really what he's designed to do. He's not really designed to be doing these super long combos because a lot of times your hand does end up getting, if you do that, your hand ends up getting clogged with blue cards sometimes, but that is kind of annoying because double card draw speed does allow you to stall, which is very valuable in certain aspects of the fight. And then one other weakness about this character is he does have pretty weak Zenkai bench options. This guy has access to the Zenkai Kakarot Goku, who is a very good HP buffer for him. But remember, that Zenkai Kakarot Goku is only about half the potency of a normal Zenkai. So we're really waiting for like a really strong red Sun Family Zenkai bench or a red Saiyan Zenkai bench that actually does give 2 stats with their Z ability. I was looking at that blue Super Saiyan Goku from the future, sort of the counterpart to the purple Vegeta that we got a Zenkai for a few weeks ago. Could have been an interesting choice here. I'm not sure if they'll do that or not, but this guy's Zenkai bench options, and this is honestly the same issue we saw with like Super Vegeta 2, is Red Saiyans don't really have the greatest Zenkai bench options, so that kind of hurts this guy a little bit. It's not like, oh my god, he's terrible now because of that, but that is something to mention. He's just getting less stats than most other characters would be from Zenkai benches. For Gotenks, I mean, I don't have to go super in-depth with Gotenks. You guys know how he works at this point. He has very consistent double card draw speed for the first 100 counts. Him being immune to attribute downgrades and abnormal conditions for the first 100 counts means he doesn't get affected by things like Vegito Blue's cost increase at half HP, any kind of debuffs or damage inflicted debuffs, evil boos, arts cost increase, stuff like that. That also means he can combo more reliably, and again, he's going to be much better at stalling the match than someone like Super Saiyan Daima Goku is. Gotenks has the support for the whole team that Daima Goku doesn't have. Gotenks certainly has better Vanish recovery than Daima Goku has because he's able to draw those greens when he vanishes to get his Vanish back. He's got the Feint chance, which it's not a super consistent thing, but you get all it takes is one feint. All it takes is one feint, and you're in business. Probably the game's a lot of times the game could just be over when you get the feint. So that is something to just keep in mind. One huge negative about Gotenks that I think probably goes under the radar a little bit more than it should is no blast armor. You take a look at literally every melee based, I mean, to be fair, this guy's a ranged character, so that's probably why he doesn't have, but even like other, like Ultimate Gohan has blast armor. I feel like they were probably looking at that pretty intently. I would imagine at some point in the design process when they were testing this character, assuming they do tests at all, he probably had blast armor at one point and they just decided it was probably overkill. Blast armor, the difference between having blast armor and not having blast armor is a game-changing difference. Like the fact that you are now able to go for like quick attack blasts against this character, it means that he's a lot easier to initiate on. You have to be a lot less passive and patient when fighting against him. You can go for blast cards from mid-range when he's like jumping and stuff like that. So that is really a big deal that I think more people just don't talk about. And then the other thing about this character as well is he is, of course, susceptible to opponents' endurance nullifying Rising Rushing him. So characters like other Gotenks, characters like this Daima Goku just using a green card and rushing, definitely is susceptible to that. Assuming you're not running him with Daima Goku, which I probably think you wouldn't run 2 reds like that right now, but I don't know. I feel like you could probably get away with running 2 reds because there's not really like super crazy blue characters. Like even against Turles, you would just your third character probably would just be a green. You probably just run like Vegito Blue as your third character. That could be an interesting team actually. Fusion Warriors with Daima Goku leader, Gotenks, and VB. That sounds pretty annoying actually. But yeah, I think I'm pretty comfortable with these guys sharing a spot. If I had to give an edge to one, I think I would give a slight advantage to Daimagoku because he's bringing more to the team in the form of the Rising Rush protection. But Gotenks does have the support, but I'm going to value that that buff removal when the enemy uses a Rising Rush, because there's a lot of characters these days that have endurance nullification somewhere in their kit where they can pair it up with their Rising Rush. So we'll move on to the number 2 spot. I don't think people are going to be too surprised about this one. All right, so number 2 is going to be Ultra Majin Vegeta. This is the same order that I had on my prior list. I mean, we could just talk about it at the same time. We'll have Vegito Blue at number 1. I'll talk about Majin Vegeta here, and then we'll just shift over quickly to Vegito after this. So Majin Vegeta, how does he fare now that the Part 2 characters are out? I mean, Daimagoku certainly hurts this guy a little bit. I don't think, to say that this character has a neutral, like the value of this character didn't go up or down when Daimagoku released, there's definitely no way that's the case. Daimagoku is an unfavorable matchup for sure with this character. I think one of the things that kind of flies under the radar with Daimagoku as well is, although I think it should be a stronger ability, there should be more activations for it. The anti-AoE green card mechanic that Daimagoku has means that Majin Vegeta can't just freely extend his combos with the AoE green card. It's only one time, but I mean, that's potentially all you need. But I think they should definitely give characters like 3 times where that can activate on units that have AoE green card nullification. But there are certainly times where Daimagoku can just obliterate Majin Vegeta. There are certainly times where Super Saiyan 3 Goku with his endurance nullification can kill this guy, but I found that to be a lot rarer than you would think, just based off of my experience using both Majin Vegeta and using Super Saiyan 3 Goku. No one is just going to sit there and let you attack them with Super Saiyan 3 Goku to nullify your endurance with Majin Vegeta, right? A lot of times what's happening is Super Saiyan 3 Goku will either just immediately go for the Rising Rush on this character, which, again, if you're running Daimagoku as the person who's using Majin Vegeta, you don't really care about that. Or you simply just try and kill this character with normal like strikes, because you can't even blast. But a lot of times the opponent will, if they're using Super Saiyan 3 Goku and you're using Majin Vegeta, they'll try and lock you in with the green card, but unfortunately his green card doesn't apply the sub counts until the green card actually hits, so you have time to switch out. It's very obvious when that's going to happen. So I don't know. I don't really feel like Majin Vegeta has fallen off too much from the release of the Part 2 characters. I think actually Majin Vegeta has, I would say, stupid as it sounds, I think he probably has a more favorable matchup against Super Saiyan 3 Goku because of how poor defensively he is. You can just kill, literally you attack him like 2 times and he's within snipe range of this guy's ultimate. So you have to be super careful when using that Super Saiyan 3 Goku, I think, against Majin Vegeta. And then Daimagoku obviously needs to be less cautious, but even still, Majin Vegeta, if you've already gotten rid of Daimagoku's AoE green card nullification, this guy can go type neutral and you can kill him. You can with the ultimate. But I don't think this guy is worthy of anything less than number 2 on the list. I think when it comes to Vegito Blue, who I guess we'll just shift over to talking about him now in the same segment here. Let me just pull him up so we can have his art on the screen. Where is he? I skipped him. There he is. To me, Vegito Blue feels more like... He feels like the more necessary character to be using right now. I think with how common Majin Vegeta is, and especially for me with how common Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta is, well, I mean, I guess in that instance it doesn't really matter because Majin Vegeta also just destroys him, but Majin Vegeta versus Majin, like the Majin Vegeta versus Majin Vegeta matchup, where it's just 2 Majin Vegetas fighting each other, neither Majin Vegeta really has the edge for obvious reasons. But Vegito Blue versus Majin Vegeta, I think Vegito Blue fares a lot better against Majin Vegeta than Majin Vegeta does. I would even say Vegito Blue probably fares a lot better against Vegito Blue than Majin Vegeta does. It becomes a lot, because a lot of times what happens when you end up fighting Vegito Blue is it's very tough to just smoke him in one card, right? You're not doing tons and tons and tons of damage to him in one card and like, oh, all of a sudden he's in snipe range. You're whittling him down, you're getting him to below half HP, you're activating his disrupt, you have insane arts costs, and by that point you have too much combo compensation to where you can successfully snipe this guy. So I feel like it's probably a lot more realistic to where you're just in a better position when you're comboing the enemy Vegito Blue with your own Vegito Blue. That's my experience using this character and fighting against enemy Vegito Blues at least. So I think this character right now to me feels like the more necessary character. And I think from a defensive end as well, the fact that he's removing buff effects when he gets Rising Rushed or gets ultimated, Majin Vegeta only has that against ultimates, which is still very good, and blue cards too, which is worth noting too. But I think Vegito Blue, he's just too valuable, I think, is what it comes down to. Like the standoff between this character and Majin Vegeta, who would I put at number 1? This guy's going to be at number 1 because he's just too valuable. I think he allows you to set up things way more easily than Majin Vegeta does against enemy characters that have unique gauges that counter you. The constant vanish restoration, just the overall damage he's doing. This character's just insane. Like I don't know. I don't know how they're gonna work around this, like, moving forward. I'm very nervous to see what the Ultra is going to be like. Now, to be fair, and just to make this very clear, I don't think there is like some massive difference between this character and Majin Vegeta. I think Majin Vegeta is very close to being number 1, and if you have Majin Vegeta at number 1 over this character, I don't think I would really argue against it. But I think when you look at who is the more influential character right now, who is shaping the meta more right now, I think for me it is Vegito Blue. So that is going to conclude this top 10 list here. I guess just to quickly recap through what we've talked about. Number 10 was a shared spot between Ultra Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta and Tamagami number 3. Number 9 was LF Omega Shenron. Number 8 was LF Tree of Might Goku. Number 7 was LF Ultimate Gohan. Number 6 was Transforming LF Super Saiyan 3 Goku. Number 5 was Ultra Turles. Number 3 and 4 was a shared spot between LF Super Saiyan Goku Mini and LF Super Saiyan 3 Gotenks. Number 2 was Ultra Majin Vegeta, and number 1 was LF Transforming Vegito Blue. Let me know what you guys think below. If you disagree, let me know which parts of the list you disagree with, as well as why. Hope you guys enjoyed this one, and I will see you in the next one.